Welcome back to Movement RX. I'm Kyle Hemsley, Doctor of Chiropractic, and today we're talking about low back pain while hiking or backpacking. If you're watching this video, you've probably experienced that low back tightness and pain that slowly builds on the uphill and gets to a point where you feel like, man, I need to take a break and stretch this thing. It may be painful with a heavy pack on. Sometimes this is even painful without a pack on at all. And you may also experience this type of pain with long periods of sitting, long periods of standing, trying to go from sit to stand, or another common one is just bent over at the sink doing dishes. In any regard, it can be quite frustrating and debilitating. In this video, we're going to talk about what's probably going on and what you can do about it. So let's just have a brief discussion about what I think is going on most of the time. Most of the time, this is nothing medically serious, but it can be seriously painful. The way that I look at it is that the lumbar muscles, the low back muscles, joints, and even maybe discs and nerves have become a bit grumpy. We've overloaded them, and the back is searching for some movement variability, maybe in a different direction, or some load sharing from some of the muscles around that create a support system to offload some of the structures in the back. So in the context of movement variability, when we're hiking for long periods of time, we have to sort of be in this bent over, forward rounding position for a long period of time. And I think what our back is trying to tell us that it just would like a change of position or a change in direction. So this leads us to exercise number 1. It's going to be repetitive cobra, or prone press up is another name for it. Essentially, we're going to take the spine, instead of in this kind of forward bent position, we're going to take it through the opposite of that into some repetitive extension. Now the goal for me and for you is to not have to do this on the trail. It'd be nice if we didn't have to take a bunch of breaks and do this, but for the time being, while we're kind of building up the other support systems, it may be necessary for you to stop every hour or so on the trail, maybe even more frequently, and do some of these movements. I'm going to give you 4 options. 2 of the options are going to be standing, so they don't require you to get onto the table. Option number 1 is the prone press up. So this is kind of our resting position, like you're reading a book. And then all you're going to do is try and keep the low back and the glute muscles relaxed as you press into a full cobra position. And up and down. It's pretty normal when you get up towards the top here to feel a bit of pressure in the low back. That's okay as long as you can tolerate it. I'd go ahead and poke into it a little bit and then come down. And then the goal is each rep, can you get a little bit further? The other name for this is end range loading. So what we're really trying to do is go to the end range of your tolerance, come out of it, and then repeat. I usually coach a 1-2 count at the top with an exhale. So down. And then ways to get a little bit higher on this is obviously push the table away or inch your hands back further and you'll get more extension. Don't worry about keeping your hips perfectly on the table. It's okay if they come up a little bit. The main focus is to let the arms do the work and try and let the low back sag without using the low back or the glute muscles. Option number 2, if the arms are a bit sore, I would go hands and knees, walk the hands forward just a bit, and then you're just going to do like a hip dip. So you go here, let your belt buckle sink into the table, and then come back up and down. I've found the first option to be a little bit more effective, but plenty of people get relief from this one, and it's a little bit easier on the arms. Option number 3 and 4 are going to be standing. So what I'd have you do if you're out on the trail and you don't want to get on the ground is find a tree or a stump or something along those lines, put your hand on it, grab your sore spot, and then just shove it forward. You can play with kind of different diagonal angles here. Oftentimes just going straight is the right direction. And then if you don't have something to put your hands on, you can just do simply a standing back bend where you push the hips forward and arch back. I usually recommend 10 to 15, maybe even 20 reps every hour or two throughout the day or as needed for pain. Now for the load sharing exercises. The idea with these exercises is to facilitate the supportive systems to the low back, which to me is the trunk, the hips, and the legs. Here's a few that I think would be helpful for you. Exercise number 1, the plank. I think the plank is one of the most simple and effective yet underutilized exercises that we have. Not a ton of coaching here. I'm just going to give you a couple things to pay attention to. So we're going to get in this plank position. And then one cue that works well for a lot of people is think about approximating or bringing together your pubic bone and your sternum rather than them growing further apart as you get more tired. So here's what I mean. You're going to get in this position, and then rather than being here where we're dumping a lot of the stress into the low back, bring your pubic bone towards your sternum. You'll notice that the hips rise a bit, but not too much. I want you to pretend like you're in a cave and there's a bunch of stalactites above you. You can't poke them with your hips. If you did poke them, it would look like this. So stay low, keep the pelvis and the sternum kind of in this neutral position. And then if you get bored, you can kind of rock back and forth. I like to have people hold for 30 to 90 seconds for multiple sets. And you should feel most of the effort in the abs and the shoulders, maybe some in the neck too, that's fine. But you shouldn't really get any stress or discomfort in the low back. If you do, you're probably losing form, and I'd take a break. Exercise number 2 is going to be the banded glute bridge. The glutes are a really nice support system for the low back. So as you're doing this, we're going to really turn up the volume, and you're going to feel the glutes burn like hell. I'm going to have you go band around the knees, probably something you've seen before. I prefer these thick bands. They don't pull on your leg hair, and they're a lot more difficult. This one's Untold Performance. You can get it on Amazon for like 10, 15 bucks. And then on your back, feet about hip width, and then I'm going to have you go knees out like you're trying to break this band. There's like 1 more inch always in this band. I want you to get that and then hold there. And then you're going to sort of drive through, I would say you could go heel or just like even pressure through the foot, and you're going to raise the hips up. Hips up and down. You should feel the glutes here on the lateral side of the hip really start burning even just after a few reps. Again, I want you taking this one until you feel like the cheeks are going to cramp. You shouldn't get much discomfort in the low back. If you do, then maybe try shortening the range of motion to where you're not going all the way up, but you're stopping here. Or maybe try dialing the pelvis backwards so your back is a little bit flatter on the ground, and then try raising from that position. Exercise number 3 is going to be a front foot elevated reverse lunge. Let me move the table here. And I'm going to put this little box right here. I really like this exercise because it teaches us to use the hip through a huge range of motion with the trunk actually at a little bit of a forward inclination, which is really similar to washing dishes or hiking uphill. So 2 feet on the box, and then as you come down, we're going to allow the torso to come forward just a bit. You're going to touch the knee if you have access to that range, and then stand. Down, and stand. Now obviously we can add some load. You can add kettlebells, barbell, dumbbells to make it more challenging. If this is a little bit too much on the back in that forward position, then just try and go a little bit more upright for now and take a further step backwards. So this will kind of look like this. And then come forward. And forward. If you feel like you need a little bit of help with balance, just do it with the table or a dresser by your side, and you can use your hand for guidance. If both of those options are too much, then just take the box away or the step and do an in-place lunge. And then you can progress to one of these other three. If you made it this far, I'm hoping that this information was useful, so I'd appreciate it if you smash that like button and hit subscribe. We haven't really been active on YouTube, but we're going to start really ramping it up and be more consistent, so make sure you subscribe because we're going to start pumping some of these videos out, and feel free to leave any comments in the comment section. If you'd like any one-on-one guidance, we do offer virtual and in person, so feel free to email us, call us, or book online.